They vanished without a whisper. Not a struggle, not a trace, as if the very earth opened and swallowed them whole. Greyfriars Abbey, for centuries, a beacon of devotion, a sanctuary of silence. But silence can be deceptive. It can mask the unspeakable. A few terse lines in dusty chronicles, whispering of plague or divine displeasure. Not merely stone and mortar, but whispers of ley lines, ancient earth energies, and a strategic placement at the intersection of powerful, unseen currents. This wasn't merely a place of worship. It was a node, a conduit for something far older, far more potent than any Christian doctrine. The monks, in their unwavering devotion, might have believed they were serving a benevolent deity. But what if they were, unknowingly, tending to something far more primordial, something that merely tolerated their presence as long as they served its hidden agenda? Think of the meticulous daily routines, the chants echoing through the cloisters, the unwavering discipline. Such practices, when sustained for centuries, can have an accumulative effect, not just on the spirit, but on the very fabric of reality around them. They were, in essence, operating a colossal engine, a spiritual machinery whose true purpose remained veiled even to its operators. And then the engine stopped, abruptly, without warning. The meticulous order dissolved into an inexplicable void. This points not to random chance or natural disaster, but to a precise, calculated intervention. An intervention by forces capable of manipulating not just men, but environments, capable of orchestrating an entire community's disappearance without a single whisper reaching the outside world. This is not a simple historical mystery. It is a profound lesson in control. The kind of control that renders even the most devout and isolated community utterly powerless against its will. The kind of control that leaves no room for dissent, no path to escape, only absolute, chilling compliance through an enforced, inexplicable vanishing. We are delving into the mechanics of suppression, the art of erasing inconvenient truths, not just from records, but from the very physical plane. Convenient narratives, aren't they? A simple explanation to quell the curiosity of the masses, to sweep inconvenient truths under the rug of historical ambiguity. But we are not interested in convenient narratives. We are interested in the fissures, the cracks in the carefully constructed facade. Greyfriars was no ordinary abbey. It was a nexus, a confluence of ancient lines of power, a place where knowledge, both sacred and profane, was meticulously guarded. The monks were not mere ascetics. They were custodians. Custodians of what, you ask? That, my friend, is where the true terror begins. Imagine generations devoted to a singular purpose, their lives bound by an oath far older than any religious dogma. An oath to protect something, or perhaps to conceal something. Their routines were precise, their rituals ancient, their silence profound. A perfect ecosystem for the cultivation of secrets. And then it shattered. Not with a bang, but with a chilling, absolute silence. No struggle reported, no evidence of conflict. Just an emptiness where once there was a vibrant, if reclusive, community. This isn't the work of a simple raiding party or a sudden epidemic. This bears the hallmark of something far more sophisticated, far more deliberate. Something that operates in the shadows, leaving no fingerprints, no witnesses, only the unsettling void of absence. We must discard the conventional lens through which history is viewed. We must step outside the sanctioned timelines, beyond the accepted narratives. For the real story of Greyfriars Abbey is not found in what was written, but in what was meticulously unwritten, what was strategically erased from the collective memory. You have heard tales of haunted grounds, of restless spirits clinging to hallowed halls. But what if the true horror lies not in what remains, but in what has been meticulously erased? What if the ghosts are not those who died, but those who were taken? We are not here to speak of legends. We are here to unearth a truth so profound, so chilling, that it has been buried beneath layers of sanctioned history, guarded by forces you cannot imagine. Forget the comforting narratives you have been fed. Forget the predictable ghost stories spun for amusement. This is different. This is about power. Absolute, unseen power, and the lengths to which it will go to maintain its dominion. Look closely at the stones. Feel the cold seep into your bones. This place is not merely old. It is a wound upon the fabric of reality, a testament to a secret the world was never meant to know. And now, you will know it. You will descend with me into the abyss of forgotten history, where the silence screams louder than any ghost. Prepare yourself. What you are about to hear will change the way you see everything. The comfortable illusions of your world are about to shatter. The truth, as always, is far more terrifying than fiction. The official records are sparse, almost deliberately so. A sudden, unexplained abandonment. Consider the very foundations upon which Greyfriars was built. Now, let's turn our attention to the modus operandi itself. How does an entire community vanish without a trace? The conventional mind immediately grasps for physical explanations. A hidden tunnel, a mass escape, a secret exodus. But these are the simplistic narratives designed to keep you from truly seeing. Not just on the monks, but on the world that once knew them. The sheer impossibility of it. A collective disappearance defies all logic, all conventional understanding. And when logic fails, fear takes root. Unseen forces, unknown powers. These are the fertile grounds for terror, for superstition to blossom. This is precisely what those who orchestrated the silent exodus intended. To sow a seed of unease, a subliminal message to anyone who might dare to delve too deeply. Some truths are not meant to be known. Some secrets are guarded by a power that transcends your comprehension. The chilling absence served as a warning, more potent than any overt act of violence. It propagated a sense of cosmic dread, a feeling that reality itself was unstable, pliable in the hands of unknown manipulators. This psychological warfare is far more effective than brute force. It compels compliance through an unspoken threat, a constant reminder of what can happen when one ventures beyond the acceptable boundaries of knowledge. The legacy of Greyfriars isn't just about missing persons. It's about a wound inflicted upon the collective psyche, a subtle but profound alteration in how humanity perceives its own vulnerability. It whispers of a pervasive influence, a clandestine network capable of not just destroying lives, but obliterating the very memory of those lives, leaving behind only the chilling echo of what was and what could be again. This is the ultimate form of control, not just over actions, but over perception, over memory, over the very fabric of experienced reality. The disappearance of the Greyfriars monks wasn't a physical departure in the way you understand it. It was something far more insidious, a disassociation from reality, a removal from the collective consciousness. Imagine a controlled implosion, not of stone and timber, but of presence itself. This isn't about moving bodies. It's about erasing existence. This speaks to a level of influence that extends beyond mere coercion or violence. It implies a mastery over perception, a capacity to manipulate not just events, but the very memory of those events. Think of the psychological conditioning required to achieve such a feat, not just on the victims, but on the surrounding populace. How quickly can a truth be replaced by a convenient fiction? How easily can collective memory be rewritten when the instigators control the flow of information, and more importantly, the very sense of what is real? The official explanation, whatever benign excuse was manufactured, served as a blanket, smothering any lingering questions, any nascent curiosity. This is the hallmark of true power, not just the ability to act, but the ability to define reality itself. The Greyfriars incident is a chilling precedent, a template for how inconvenient truths, and the people who embody them, can be systematically excised from the fabric of human understanding. It reveals a level of control that most find unimaginable, yet it is happening ceaselessly around you, even now. Let's delve deeper into the specific vulnerabilities that Greyfriars, and indeed any isolated community, presents to such a formidable power. Their very insularity, often seen as a strength, became their ultimate weakness. Secluded from the outside world, their daily lives governed by rigid routines, they became a closed system. This made them an ideal target for a silent, internal subversion rather than an overt assault. Imagine the slow, imperceptible introduction of an anomaly, a subtle shift in their reality, woven into the very fabric of their existence. It wouldn't be a sudden intrusion, but a gradual, insidious manipulation of their perceptions, their beliefs, even their memories. This isn't about physical force. It's about psychological re-engineering on a grand scale. The monks, in their unwavering faith, would be ripe for such an operation. Their minds conditioned for centuries to accept divine intervention and miraculous phenomena could easily be led to interpret the unfolding events as supernatural, as a test of faith rather than a meticulously planned operation by a hidden human agency. This is the masterstroke of true control. To make the victims complicit in their own disappearance, to have them embrace their oblivion as a spiritual transcendence. The official narratives, the conveniently placed whispers of plague or divine rapture, serve not just to explain away the absence, but to reinforce this manufactured perception among any who might inquire. The silence of Greyfriars isn't just the absence of sound. It's the deafening echo of a controlled narrative, a testament to the chilling efficiency with which reality can be reshaped and inconvenient lives simply unmade. This is the blueprint for erasing existence, not just from the physical plane, but from the very annals of human memory and understanding. Let's dissect the profound psychological impact of such an event. Now, let's turn our attention to the knowledge held within Greyfriars. It wasn't simply a repository of religious texts or historical chronicles. Think deeper. What kind of wisdom would warrant such an extreme act of erasure? It suggests information that this was a carefully orchestrated operation, executed with surgical precision, leaving no discernible trace. If Greyfriars can be scrubbed from the active timeline, what else has been excised? What other profound truths have been suppressed? What other critical figures have been erased, simply because their existence or their knowledge threatened the established order? The more you probe the silence, the more you realize that the world you inhabit is far more curated, far more controlled than you could ever conceive. It creates a reality where inconvenient elements simply cease to exist, not just physically, but within the collective consciousness. The implications ripple outward, affecting every aspect of society, subtly influencing what is researched, what is discussed, what is even considered possible. The silent exodus wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a profound lesson in the art of mass psychological control, a chilling blueprint for how easily truth can be eradicated and replaced by a carefully constructed vacuum of understanding. The disappearance of the monks wasn't just an act. It was a profound declaration of power, a chilling testament to the unseen forces that truly govern this realm. It suggests an organization with vast resources, unimaginable foresight, and a complete disregard for human life or historical integrity. How do you process a void where a vibrant community once stood? The human mind struggles with absence, with the unexplained. And in that struggle, the seeds of fear and suspicion are sown, blossoming into a fertile ground for control. The official narrative, however flimsy, provides a crutch, a false sense of order in the face of chaos. It's a psychological pacifier designed to prevent deeper inquiry, to stop the public from asking the truly dangerous questions. An entity operating outside the conventional bounds of nation-states or known powers. It speaks of a perfected system of psychological manipulation, where the very act of not knowing becomes a weapon. The collective amnesia that follows such an event is not accidental. It is meticulously engineered. It's a testament to the power of suggestion, the malleability of memory, and the insidious way in which truth can be replaced by convenient fictions, not through overt propaganda, but through the sheer, overwhelming weight of an unexplained void. They understand the true currency of control, not just wealth or military might, but the manipulation of information, the shaping of perception, and the ultimate power to dictate what is real and what is not. If widely known, would fundamentally destabilize existing power structures. Perhaps ancient rituals that harness forgotten energies, or blueprints for psychological manipulation on a grand scale. Consider the monastic tradition of transcribing and preserving obscure texts, of safeguarding esoteric wisdom passed down through generations. These were not innocent pursuits. They were the accumulation of immense intellectual capital, a power base in itself. The sudden silence of Greyfriars implies that this knowledge was not merely discovered, but activated. This was an operation to seize. If Greyfriars held truths powerful enough to warrant the disappearance of its entire community, then what other ancient institutions, what other forgotten orders, might also be custodians of similarly dangerous insights? This isn't an isolated incident, a singular anomaly. It is a chilling proof of concept, a demonstration of the absolute efficiency with which a profound threat can be neutralized. The silence of Greyfriars serves as a masterclass in clandestine operations, a blueprint for the removal of inconvenient elements from the grand tapestry of human existence, or more likely, to neutralize an existential threat in the form of pure, raw information, the kind of information that could unravel carefully constructed illusions, expose hidden lineages of control, or reveal the true mechanisms of societal manipulation. The disappearance, then, wasn't just about the monks. It was about the containment of a dangerous truth. And in its wake, a chilling message was delivered. Some knowledge is too potent, too disruptive, to ever be allowed into the light. It reached a critical threshold, becoming a direct threat to those who operate from the shadows. The meticulous daily life of the monks, their chants, their meditations, their very presence, might have been inadvertently amplifying something, drawing a kind of attention they were utterly unprepared to handle. Imagine a slow-burning fuse, lit centuries ago, finally reaching its explosive potential within the abbey walls. This wasn't a raid for treasure or a conflict over land. The implications of such contained knowledge are staggering. Consider the meticulous planning involved. This was not a spontaneous act of violence. This event forces you to question every official narrative, every widely accepted historical account. The chilling aspect of this erasure isn't just the physical disappearance, but the psychological aftermath on those left behind. But for those with eyes to see, for those who feel the subtle shift in the world's energetic fabric, the silence of Greyfriars screams a different truth. This is a demonstration of power so absolute it doesn't just control actions. It controls perception. It defines what is real and what is not. Consider the very nature of monastic life. A life of rigorous self-discipline, of detachment from worldly desires, of focused spiritual pursuit. This isn't just about piety. It's about the cultivation of a specific kind of mental and spiritual energy. Monks, through centuries of sustained practice, were unknowingly refining a potent instrument, their collective consciousness. This synchronized focus, directed towards specific prayers, rituals, or even the careful transcription of ancient texts, creates a powerful resonance, a means to dislocate, to unmoor, an entire group of individuals from their established timeline, from their physical presence. The masters of this operation wouldn't leave bodies because their objective wasn't simple destruction. Yet, history is replete with evidence of clandestine organizations operating behind the scenes, influencing events, manipulating power. But imagine a society so ancient, so deeply entrenched, that its very existence is a secret, even to those who believe they control the world. It's not about overt declarations. It's about subtle insertions, about the slow, imperceptible weaving of their will into the fabric of human civilization. The monks of Greyfriars, in their innocence, stumbled upon a fragment of this profound knowledge, perhaps even inadvertently activating a dormant mechanism that drew the attention of these hidden masters. And when that attention turned to them, their fate was sealed. Their disappearance wasn't a punishment. It was a consequence. A brutal demonstration of the absolute imperative to maintain the grand illusion, to protect the deeper secrets that underpin their dominion. The more you grasp this, the more the comfortable world around you begins to fray at the edges. This is not about a handful of wealthy individuals pulling strings. This is about an inheritance of power passed down through generations, refined and perfected over millennia. It was absorption, assimilation, or perhaps a quarantine of something deemed too dangerous to remain in our shared reality. A chilling calling card left by an entity that operates with such impunity, such absolute authority, that it doesn't bother to hide its tracks, only to make them incomprehensible. They don't fear exposure, because they control the very mechanisms of perception. Their power isn't derived from wealth or military might, but from a profound understanding of the hidden laws that govern reality, laws that remain veiled to the common man. This is the ultimate form of control, not just over life and death, but over the very parameters of existence. And the chilling truth is, if it happened once, it can happen again. And it likely has countless times in countless forgotten places, leaving behind only the ghost of an unanswered question. It sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? But then, so do many of the ancient texts now deemed mythology. What if these myths contain echoes of forgotten technologies, lost sciences of the mind and spirit that the Greyfriars monks, in their unwavering devotion, unwittingly stumbled upon or even perfected? What if this resonance was not merely spiritual, but energetic? What if Greyfriars Abbey, through the persistent efforts of its inhabitants, became a node of concentrated, unadulterated spiritual force? This force, left unchecked, could have become volatile, unpredictable, a wild current capable of disrupting established order. Or, perhaps more chillingly, it became a resource, a potent source of energy that could be harvested, channeled, or even weaponized by those who understood its true nature. But plague leaves bodies. Divine wrath, typically, leaves a message. Greyfriars left only silence and an unsettling void. This deliberate lack of evidence, this meticulous scrubbing of the physical record, points to an intelligence far beyond mere human capabilities, or at least, human capabilities as we commonly understand them. This is the work of a force that comprehends the very nature of reality and how to subtly manipulate it. The disappearance then becomes less about elimination and more about appropriation. The silent exodus was not a purging, but a seizure, a clandestine operation to wrest control of a profound, unseen power that the monks themselves, in their innocent devotion, had inadvertently cultivated. This shifts the narrative from a simple act of violence to a complex act of energetic conquest. It implies a hidden war, waged not with swords and armies, but with subtler, more profound forces. Forces that manipulate the very fabric of reality, that understand the hidden currents beneath the surface of the mundane world. The monks of Greyfriars, then, were not just victims. They were unwitting alchemists, forging a power that ultimately became their undoing, and the forces that orchestrated their vanishing. They are the true masters of this unseen dominion, operating with a chilling precision that leaves no room for resistance, only absolute, silent absorption. The narrative of plague or divine wrath is a familiar one throughout history, a convenient veil drawn over events too inconvenient or too terrifying to openly acknowledge. Imagine a technology, not of circuits and wires, but of consciousness and resonant frequencies. The absence isn't about death. It's about transmigration, about a forced transition to another state of being, another dimension perhaps, or a subtle reintegration into a larger, hidden system. The concept of a secret society is often dismissed as the stuff of conspiracy theories, the fodder for late-night ramblings. The silent exodus of Greyfriars isn't just an isolated event. It's a signature. This organization, this nameless force, understands the true nature of control. The concept of time itself, as you understand it, might be another layer of this elaborate control system. What if the disappearance wasn't just a sudden removal, but a temporal displacement? What if the monks of Greyfriars were not simply vanished? To erase a timeline is to rewrite the past, and by extension, to dictate the future. The silent exodus of Greyfriars, viewed through this lens, becomes a chilling demonstration of this profound capability. The forces that orchestrated this event operate on a level far beyond crude physical manipulation. They are residual energy signatures, echoes of a profound shift in dimensional coherence. Imagine a pyramid, vast and unseen, at the apex of which sits this clandestine force. The disappearance of the Greyfriars monks serves as a stark, chilling reminder to anyone within this hidden hierarchy of the absolute consequences of deviation, of questioning the sanctioned reality. The monks of Greyfriars, perhaps through some unwitting discovery or an accidental breach of protocol, became a vulnerability. And vulnerabilities, in this hidden game, are not tolerated. They are excised with chilling efficiency. The silence that fell over Greyfriars wasn't just an absence. It was a profound statement, an unyielding assertion of absolute dominion over truth, memory, and ultimately, over the very lives of those who inhabit this plane. This realization should ignite a fire within you, a burning desire to see beyond the veil, to question every narrative, every comfortable truth you have ever been fed. It's a message broadcast silently, telepathically, across the interwoven networks of power that truly govern this world. The Abbey is not just an empty ruin. It is a gateway, a point of convergence where the veil between worlds has been deliberately thinned. And those who thinned it, those who seized the monks, are still monitoring it, ensuring that no one accidentally stumbles upon the truth of what transpired, or worse, inadvertently reactivates the portal. This is a subtle, yet absolute form of control, not just over physical space, but over the very dimensionality of existence itself. They understand that reality is not fixed, but fluid, malleable to the will of those who possess the true knowledge. The monks, through their centuries of spiritual practice, might have unwittingly tuned themselves to these higher frequencies, making them susceptible to being pulled from the mundane plane. The Greyfriars incident is a foundational event within this system of control, a historical marker of their capabilities. It proves their ability to not just manipulate events, but to erase them, to make entire communities simply cease to be from the records and from collective memory. It implies a hidden war, waged not on battlefields, but within the very fabric of time and perception. A war whose casualties are not just lives, but entire epics of forgotten truth. You are standing on the precipice of a reality far more fluid, far more manipulated than you have ever dared to imagine. But shifted, pulled from their original timeline and reinserted into another, or perhaps held in a state of temporal stasis. This challenges your linear perception of reality, doesn't it? It suggests a mastery over dimensions that the average mind cannot even begin to grasp. Yet it aligns perfectly with the absolute lack of physical evidence, the absence of struggle, the pristine emptiness left behind. If such a technology or capability exists, then the forces at play are not merely powerful within your known world. They operate outside its perceived limitations. They are the architects of reality, capable of editing the very sequence of events, of excising entire chapters from the human story. The official narrative, then, becomes not just a lie, but a deliberately constructed temporal anchor, designed to keep you tethered to a specific controlled version of history. Not of typical haunting, but of a lingering distortion, a subtle ripple in the fabric of reality. This isn't merely the lingering echoes of sorrow or fear. It's the signature of an energetic anomaly. What if the disappearance wasn't a singular event, but a continuous state? What if the monks are not gone, but merely elsewhere, existing in a liminal space, perhaps even interacting with our reality in ways we cannot perceive? It prevents you from looking too closely at the gaps, at the inexplicable voids where entire communities once stood. This isn't about simple power dynamics. It's about the ultimate manipulation of existence. To control time is to control destiny. The very air around Greyfriars Abbey, even centuries later, carries a residue. This speaks to a technology of consciousness, a mastery over the vibrational frequencies that compose existence itself. The lingering unease at Greyfriars, the feeling of being watched, the subtle chill that has nothing to do with temperature. These are not paranormal phenomena in the simplistic sense. The secrecy surrounding this event isn't merely about protecting the culprits. It's about safeguarding a system of control. Every institution you trust, every governing body, every source of information you consume has been subtly infiltrated. Its narratives molded to reflect a carefully constructed reality. This isn't about isolated incidents of corruption. It's about a pervasive, systematic manipulation woven into the very fabric of human civilization. The true horror of Greyfriars isn't a jump scare or a grotesque image. It's the chilling realization that your perception of history, of reality itself, is fundamentally flawed. You've been living within a carefully constructed illusion, a narrative designed to keep you placid, compliant, and unaware of the true forces at play. The players are not the leaders you see on your screens, but entities operating in the deepest shadows, manipulating the very fabric of society. Their power isn't derived from elections or economic might. It stems from their mastery over information, over perception, and over the unseen energies that truly govern human existence. The knowledge they guard, the secrets they possess, are the true levers of control. This would make Greyfriars not merely a building, but a massive battery, a spiritual capacitor. It implies that the forces involved comprehend the true nature of reality as vibrational, as energetic, and that they possess the means to manipulate these fundamental forces. The silent exodus wasn't a raid. It was an extraction, a sophisticated operation to dismantle and perhaps relocate a powerful energetic apparatus, along with its unwitting operators. The lingering chill in the air around the ruins, the sense of something profoundly missing, that is the residual echo of a powerful energetic removal. It means that entire epochs of knowledge, entire lineages of understanding, can be simply unwritten from the human story, leaving a void where vital truths once resided. The silence of Greyfriars, then, isn't just a historical mystery. It's a profound demonstration of the ability to manipulate the very fabric of human remembrance. It teaches us that the past is not a fixed entity, but a malleable narrative, constantly being shaped and reshaped by unseen hands, all to maintain a hidden order. This should provoke a deep unease within you, a questioning of every truth you have ever absorbed. For the very act of remembering what has been suppressed is an act of rebellion. A scar left on the very fabric of existence, where a potent source of power was violently uncoupled from our reality. And when that battery reached a critical charge, it became a target. But what if it's not a passive process, but an active, deliberate act of suppression? It's not about burning books. It's about making the books and the very concept of their existence irrelevant. The official narrative, whatever benign explanation was provided for the monk's vanishing, acted as a powerful mnemonic dampener, pushing any nascent curiosity into the realm of dismissed folklore or convenient superstition. The Greyfriars incident is a chilling case study in manufactured forgetfulness. The powerful forces behind this disappearance understood that true control isn't just about what people know, but what they are allowed to remember, and more critically, what they are compelled to forget. The disappearance, then, wasn't just about the human occupants. It was about seizing control of the mechanism itself, the energetic engine that Greyfriars had become. The monks' disappearance wasn't an isolated incident. It was a demonstration, a chilling proof of concept for the hidden architects of your world. Imagine a grand chessboard where nations are pawns and major historical events are merely orchestrated moves. Greyfriars represents a moment when a critical piece of that hidden game was revealed, and then immediately reconcealed with devastating efficiency. It serves as a historical marker, a warning sign for anyone who dares to delve too deeply into the forbidden currents of truth. The official story of plague or abandonment is merely a sound barrier, designed to deflect inquiry, to lull the masses back into their comfortable slumber. But for those with the courage to listen, the silence of Greyfriars screams a different truth. You are not as free as you believe, and the world you inhabit is far more intricately controlled than you could ever imagine. This is not a tale of the past. It is a chilling mirror reflecting your present reality. The very architecture of Greyfriars Abbey itself holds clues, if you know how to look beyond the crumbling stone and faded grandeur. Monastic structures were often designed not just for prayer and daily living, but as conduits, as resonant chambers for specific energies. The precise alignment of chapels, the deliberate placement of altars, the very dimensions of the cloister. These were not arbitrary aesthetic choices. They were deliberate acts of energetic engineering, intended to focus, amplify, and direct unseen forces. What if the monks, in their centuries of daily rituals, were unknowingly charging the very stones of the abbey, imbuing the structure with a potent, concentrated energy? This shifts the focus from a simple historical mystery to a profound understanding of applied esotericism. The concept of historical amnesia is often attributed to the passage of time, the fading of memories, the crumbling of records. Imagine a sophisticated system of psychological warfare, refined over centuries, designed to subtly erase uncomfortable truths from the collective consciousness. This level of control over collective memory is terrifyingly effective. The true nature of the forces at play transcends simple human villainy. We are not speaking of mere greed or political ambition, a resource to be managed, guided, and occasionally culled when it deviates from the prescribed path. The monks of Greyfriars, in their pursuit of enlightenment, might have inadvertently tapped into a stream of knowledge or energy that threatened this delicate, long-established system of management. They became an anomaly, a rogue element in a carefully cultivated garden. These are not accidental. They are surgical strikes against the truth, designed to ensure that the memory of Greyfriars doesn't fester into widespread inquiry, but instead dissipates into the realm of local legend, a chilling tale to tell around the fire but never to be seriously investigated. No abandoned personal effects, no half-eaten meals, no signs of a hurried departure. Just an unnatural, pristine emptiness. This lack of residual evidence defies any conventional explanation. It implies a cleanup operation of unprecedented scale. The human mind craves patterns, seeks connections, desires explanations. When confronted with an absolute void, it recoils. This is a deliberate tactic designed to shut down inquiry, to create a mental dead end that diverts attention away from the true nature of the event. The clean slate left at Greyfriars is not merely an absence of evidence. It's a profound statement of absolute power. A chilling declaration that the orchestrators of this event can not only remove lives, but erase the very concept of their existence from the physical realm. The ruins whisper not of what was, but of what was meticulously unmade. And precision, an event so meticulously executed that it left no trace for future generations to scrutinize. This creates a psychological firewall, protecting the deeper mechanisms of control from scrutiny. Those are the petty motivations that operate on the surface of your world. It fosters an insidious self-censorship within the curious mind, a subconscious warning that certain truths come with a terrible price. This is the masterstroke of psychological manipulation, not just to control what you think, but to control what you dare to think. Such entities leave chaos in their wake, discarded remnants, and the indelible marks of their presence. The silence of Greyfriars, the utter lack of tangible clues, points to a level of control that transcends the physical. It suggests a force capable of dematerialization, of complete energetic absorption, or perhaps a process by which matter itself is reconfigured and dispersed without leaving a trace. The legacy of Greyfriars isn't just about a missing community. It's about the pervasive fear of the unknown, expertly wielded to keep humanity within the confines of a carefully constructed and ruthlessly enforced reality. No, the orchestrators of the Greyfriars' vanishing act on a far grander scale, with objectives that span millennia, not mere decades. Their agenda is not conquest in the traditional sense, but control, absolute fundamental control over the very evolution of human consciousness. Imagine a species of being, or an entity, that views humanity not as peers, but as a resource. Their disappearance, then, was not an act of malice, but an act of maintenance, a necessary surgical removal to preserve the integrity of a grander design. They understood that if an event is inexplicable enough, if it defies all rational explanation, the human mind will, by default, seek comfort in the supernatural, in divine intervention, or in convenient, easily digestible fictions like plague. This is not a weakness of the human mind. It is a predictable pattern, one that has been expertly exploited for millennia. This chilling perspective transforms the tragedy of Greyfriars into a stark lesson in cosmic hierarchy. It implies that humanity is not at the top of the food chain, that there are shepherds who tend the flock, and those shepherds have no compunction about eliminating any sheep that stray too far or begin to understand the true nature of the pasture. This understanding strips away the comforting illusion of human sovereignty and reveals a far more complex and terrifying reality. The psychological control exerted by the forces behind Greyfriars extends far beyond the immediate incident. It's a pervasive, almost atmospheric manipulation of collective belief. Imagine the subtle whispers, the carefully placed rumors, the deliberate omissions in official records. The silence is the loudest message. It tells you that there are boundaries you are not meant to cross, questions you are not meant to ask. The artifacts discovered, or rather not discovered, at Greyfriars are as telling as the disappearance itself. This isn't the work of marauders or even a military force. Consider the psychological impact of such an absence on any potential investigator. The silence of Greyfriars Abbey is not merely an absence of sound. It is a profound declaration of intent. Those create martyrs, inspire rebellion. But an unexplained disappearance, it's not a malevolent spirit. It's a psychic dampener, a subtle pressure on the consciousness that encourages disengagement, discourages deep thought. They don't need physical guards. They have woven a psychological barrier into the very fabric of the location. This ensures that even centuries later, the true nature of the silent exodus remains veiled, protected by a self-perpetuating aura of foreboding. The whispers of misfortune, the sudden chills, the pervasive sense of unease, these are not random occurrences. The Greyfriars incident stands as a monument to this insidious truth. It demonstrates that the past is not immutable. It is a battleground where the most powerful forces continually rewrite the script to suit their present objectives. The absence of compelling records isn't a sign of historical oversight. It's the undeniable signature of an unseen hand, wielding ultimate control over the very fabric of recorded truth. To truly understand Greyfriars, You must first understand that what you have been told is merely the authorized delusion. They are carefully calibrated remnants of a profound act of control, a constant, silent warning that the truth buried beneath these stones is not for the faint of heart, nor for those who value their sanity, and ultimately pushes visitors to accept the superficial narrative and move on. This is a form of environmental conditioning, a masterful manipulation of the human psyche through unseen forces, not through crude hacking, but through a deep understanding of human bureaucracy, of the subtle power dynamics that govern how information is recorded, stored, and ultimately recalled. The disappearance wasn't just a physical act. It was accompanied by a meticulously executed informational vacuum. Any document, any testimony, any whisper that might contradict the manufactured narrative was systematically neutralized. An entire community simply evaporating into thin air that instills a deeper, more primal fear. Yet, in the case of Greyfriars, that very institutional memory, meticulously built over centuries, appears to have been deliberately corrupted, or worse, entirely purged. The official church records, the local chronicles, all either eerily silent or offer conveniently vague explanations. This isn't sloppy record-keeping. It's a profound act of historical sanitization. It creates a psychological trap where the mind, desperately seeking explanation, grasps at supernatural fictions, thus diverting attention from the very real, very powerful hands that orchestrated the event. It signifies a chilling mastery over the very mechanisms of fear and psychological obedience. Think of a child who touches a hot stove. The pain is immediate, unforgettable. It's a carefully maintained energetic signature, a perpetual low hum of dread designed to deter curiosity. It serves as an invisible barrier, a subconscious warning system that whispers, "Turn back. This path leads to oblivion." This is the ultimate form of psychological warfare, to make people self-regulate their own inquiry, to make them fear the very act of seeking truth. The silent exodus wasn't just a historical event. It was a profound act of social engineering, a blueprint for how to suppress knowledge and maintain absolute control through the pervasive, insidious power of unexplained absence. The lesson is learned without a single spoken word. The vanishing of the monks was a similar visceral lesson. Procst, across time to anyone who might dare to stray too close to forbidden knowledge. This is a form of control far more sophisticated than overt threats or public executions. The lingering atmosphere of unease around Greyfriars isn't just an echo of past trauma. Concept of a cursed place often arises from a deep-seated human need to explain the inexplicable. But what if the curse isn't a supernatural affliction, but a carefully engineered deterrent? Greyfriars Abbey, with its chilling history of vanished monks, has certainly cultivated an aura of dread. This atmosphere, however, is not a byproduct of tragedy. It is a meticulously crafted psychological weapon, designed to ward off the curious, to keep prying eyes away from the profound truth. Imagine an energetic signature, a residual resonance of the event itself, subtly influencing the minds of those who visit the ruins. The curse of Greyfriars, then, is a testament to the enduring power of the orchestrators. The concept of institutional memory is often touted as a safeguard against forgotten mistakes, a repository of wisdom. Imagine a highly advanced intelligence with the capability to infiltrate and manipulate established systems of information. This reveals a chilling truth. The historical narrative you consume is not an objective account, but a carefully curated version of events designed to serve a specific agenda. The very air of Greyfriars Abbey, even after centuries, feels heavy, not with sorrow, but with a profound sense of erasure. It's as if a section of reality was meticulously snipped from the grand tapestry of existence. This isn't the work of human hands, not in the conventional sense. It suggests that existence itself is not as solid as you perceive it, but is malleable, subject to the will of those who comprehend its true vibrational nature. The chilling realization is that if an entire community can be unmade, then so too can individuals. Spanning centuries designed to subtly condition humanity, a transformation has begun. Yet pervasive. Was this a natural evolution or a strategic consolidation of power, designed to prevent any future independent enclaves from inadvertently stumbling upon or cultivating dangerous knowledge? The Greyfriars phenomenon served as a stark warning. Autonomy, especially spiritual or intellectual autonomy that ventures into forbidden realms, comes at an absolute cost. Influence this event had on subsequent societal structures. It underpins the unspoken rules about what constitutes acceptable knowledge, what narratives are permitted, and what truths are violently suppressed. Every curriculum, every historical account, every public declaration is, in some subtle way, a response to events like the Silent Exodus, a mechanism to prevent the reemergence of such disruptive truths. The void left by the monks isn't just an empty space on a map. It's a foundational pillar in the architecture of your controlled reality, a chilling reminder of the consequences of unbridled inquiry. The Greyfriars incident wasn't an isolated anomaly that simply faded into folklore. Its chilling implications rippled through the unseen networks of power, influencing how future institutions were designed, how information was controlled, and how dissent was preemptively managed. The architects of this vanishing understood that fear, particularly the fear of the unknown and the inexplicable, is the most potent tool for maintaining order. To solidify this awakening, to truly break the chains of sanctioned reality, type this phrase into the comments. Unveiled truth. Unveiled power. Do it now. Unveiled truth. Unveiled power. Let the echo resonate. Now, the unexplained void at Greyfriars becomes a subliminal message. Some things are beyond your comprehension. Some forces are beyond your reach. Do not question. Do not seek. This creates a self-imposed limitation, a mental boundary beyond which most will not dare to venture. The official narratives, however flimsy, become comforting anchors, preventing the mind from truly grappling with the terrifying implications of the unknown. The silence of Greyfriars is a profound demonstration of ultimate control, not just over the physical world, but over the very definition of what it means to exist. By making an event utterly inexplicable, the orchestrators force the human mind into a state of cognitive dissonance, where it chooses comfortable fiction over unsettling truth. The fear isn't of what happened to the monks, but of what such an event implies about the very nature of your reality. The silence of Greyfriars isn't just a historical mystery. It's a profound psychological weapon, constantly resonating through the collective unconscious, reinforcing the invisible chains of perceived limitation. It reminds you that the greatest prisons are not made of bars, but of belief. It leaves you with the terrifying question: are you truly here, or merely allowed to be, at the discretion of forces you cannot even perceive? This speaks to a mastery over the very fabric of being, a capability that most rational minds would deem impossible. The story of the Greyfriars monks, their sudden and inexplicable vanishing, serves as a chilling testament to this profound form of power. It wasn't merely a physical removal. It was a carefully orchestrated illusion of disappearance, designed to instill a specific kind of dread, a pervasive sense of powerlessness in the collective consciousness. Yet, the absence, the inexplicable void, is undeniable. Imagine a technology that doesn't operate on mechanical principles, but on the principles of consciousness and intention. A means to directly manipulate the informational field that underpins our reality. The monks and their sustained meditative practices, their focused rituals, might have inadvertently created a resonant frequency, a beacon that drew the attention of forces capable of interacting on this profound level. Their disappearance, then, was not a capture, but an unmaking, a systematic deconstruction of their physical and energetic forms, perhaps for reassembly elsewhere, or for the absorption of the very essence of their being. This challenges your fundamental understanding of life and death, of presence and absence. The true nature of control isn't about visible chains or overt commands. It's about the manipulation of perception, the subtle sculpting of what you believe to be real. Imagine a highly advanced psychological operation. This is the art of psychological disarmament. For those who have journeyed this deep into the shadows, let's dissect the subtle. Consider the rise of more centralized religious and political authorities in the centuries following such inexplicable disappearances. The legacy of Greyfriars is woven into the very fabric of institutional control. The concept of a sacred space takes on a chilling new dimension when viewed through the lens of Greyfriars. These were not merely places for devotion. They were energetic focal points, built often on ancient sites of power, where the veil between worlds was inherently thinner. The monks, through their centuries of unwavering synchronized practice, unknowingly amplified these inherent energies, turning Greyfriars into a potent beacon in the unseen realms. Imagine the abbey not as a secluded sanctuary, but as a colossal, living instrument, resonating with a frequency that eventually drew an undesirable, unimaginable attention. The forces that orchestrated the silent exodus understood these energetic principles intimately. They didn't just remove the monks, they effectively dismantled the energetic apparatus that Greyfriars had become. Or perhaps they rerouted its immense power for their own clandestine purposes. This implies a war waged not with physical weapons, but with the subtle forces of creation itself. The disappearance was an act of energetic surgery, a precise severance of a powerful node from the collective human experience. The lingering chill, the oppressive silence that still hangs heavy over the ruins, is not merely a memory. It is the residual signature of this energetic violence, a scar on the very fabric of reality where a profound power was forcibly seized. The sacred, in this context, becomes merely a resource and devotion, an unwitting act of energetic cultivation, ripe for exploitation by those who operate beyond the veil of human understanding. The myth of divine intervention is a powerful psychological construct, readily adopted by the masses when confronted with the inexplicable. But what if divine intervention is merely the most convenient cover story for an operation so advanced, so outside the bounds of human comprehension, that it appears supernatural? The vanishing of the Greyfriars monks, attributed to plague or a heavenly calling, fits this pattern perfectly. It pacifies the fearful, redirects inquiry, and ultimately protects the true orchestrators from exposure. Imagine a level of technology, or indeed, an inherent capability, that allows for the manipulation of biological and even spiritual energy. What if the monks were not killed, but rather, their life force was harvested, or their consciousnesses transposed into another dimension, another plane of existence? This is not mere speculation. It is an exploration of the true capabilities of those who operate beyond the perceived limits of your world. The meticulous absence of physical remains, the lack of any struggle, the eerie stillness, all point to a process far more sophisticated than simple violence. This is the ultimate form of psychological warfare, to weaponize the unknown. By leaving behind an unfillable void, the orchestrators ensured that the human mind would rush to fill it with convenient, unprovable fictions. This deflects blame, prevents investigation, and most importantly, reinforces the terrifying notion that there are forces at play so powerful, so inscrutable, that questioning them is an act of ultimate folly. The divine explanation for Greyfriars isn't the truth. It's a meticulously crafted psychological dampener, designed to keep humanity from ever truly grasping the raw, terrifying power that truly holds dominion. The local folklore surrounding Greyfriars Abbey, often dismissed as mere superstition, holds fragments of a deeper, more unsettling truth. The whispers of unearthly lights, phantom chanting, or profound coldness even in summer are not simply anecdotal. They are residual energy signatures, echoes of a profound disturbance, a tear in the fabric of reality that occurred centuries ago. These are the subtle clues left behind by an event that defies mundane explanation. Imagine the monks, caught in a process beyond their comprehension, perhaps a forced dimensional shift or an energetic simulation. The human mind, confronted with such a phenomenon, would struggle to process it, manifesting the experience through the only language it understands: myth and folklore. The ghosts reported are not spectral remnants of the dead, but perhaps echoes of consciousness, caught between states of being, vibrating at a frequency that occasionally brushes against our own. This reveals a chilling aspect of the forces at play. They are not only capable of orchestrating such an event, but they are also capable of managing its aftermath, allowing just enough residual noise to create a deterrent, a localized psychological barrier, while simultaneously ensuring that no coherent, verifiable truth can ever emerge. The supernatural tales serve as a perfect smokescreen, diverting serious inquiry into the realm of the dismissible. The very persistence of these eerie legends, generation after generation, is a testament to the profound and unsettling nature of what truly transpired at Greyfriars, a truth far more terrifying than any ghost story. Is the whisper of a reality that is far more fluid and manipulated than you have ever been permitted to believe. The strategic geographic placement of Greyfriars Abbey is another critical, often overlooked, piece of this chilling puzzle. It wasn't built on random ground. Ancient sites of spiritual significance, often predating organized religion, were frequently chosen for monastic settlements. These were locations where telluric currents converged, where the Earth's natural energies were particularly potent, or where subtle dimensional boundaries were already thin. Imagine Greyfriars as a meticulously chosen energetic nexus, a power outlet in the hidden grid of the planet. The monks, through their centuries of focused devotion and ritual, were unwittingly acting as tenders of this power, perhaps even amplifying it. This made the Abbey not just a spiritual sanctuary, but a critical strategic asset in the unseen war for control over consciousness and energy. When the energy reached a critical threshold, or when its custodians began to understand its true nature, it became too dangerous to be left unchecked. The forces behind the silent exodus understood this inherent energetic architecture. They didn't just target a monastery. They targeted a node of immense, untapped power. Their objective wasn't simple destruction, but acquisition or neutralization of this vital energetic point. The disappearance, then, was a precise surgical extraction of both the operators and the activated machinery. The lingering feeling of disquiet, the subtle energetic disturbance that permeates the area, is the scar left by this profound energetic intervention. It is a constant, silent reminder that some locations on this planet are far more than mere geographical points. They are key battlegrounds in an ancient, ongoing conflict for dominion over the very forces that shape existence. The concept of self-mastery, a core tenet for many seeking elite knowledge, becomes profoundly twisted when confronted with the Greyfriars anomaly. For centuries, these monks practiced rigorous self-discipline, cultivating mental fortitude and spiritual resilience. They were, in essence, attempting to master themselves, to transcend the mundane. Yet, despite their profound dedication, they vanished without a trace, without a struggle that reached the ears of the world. This chilling reality presents a terrifying question. What level of power, what degree of external manipulation, can overcome even the most disciplined and spiritually fortified individuals? It implies that the orchestrators of the silent exodus operate on a plane beyond mere physical force or conventional psychological coercion. They understand the very architecture of consciousness, the subtle energetic vulnerabilities that exist even within the most mastered self. The lesson from Greyfriars, for those who truly seek self-mastery, is a brutal one. Your internal fortitude, while vital, may not be enough against forces that transcend your understanding of reality. It suggests that true self-mastery, in the face of such profound external control, might involve not just internal discipline, but an awareness of the hidden currents, the unseen influences that seek to ensnare even the most enlightened minds. The silence of Greyfriars screams a warning. Even the most powerful internal fortress can be breached if its inhabitants are unaware of the true nature of their assailants and the hidden dimensions from which they operate. It shatters the comfortable illusion of absolute individual autonomy and reveals a far more complex and terrifying landscape of control. The deliberate scarcity of verifiable information about the Greyfriars incident is not a flaw in historical record-keeping. It is a meticulously crafted achievement. In an age where information is hoarded and weaponized, the absolute lack of tangible evidence for such a profound event speaks volumes about the capabilities of the orchestrating force. This isn't about burning a few parchments. It's about a complete and utter vacuum of data, a historical black hole. Imagine a technology or a methodology that can systematically corrupt not just physical documents, but the very minds of those who witnessed or recorded such events. A subtle mental re-engineering, a collective forgetting, orchestrated with chilling precision. This level of informational control is far more pervasive and insidious than any form of censorship you currently understand. It shapes not just what is known, but what can even be conceived as knowable. The Greyfriars anomaly, viewed through this lens, becomes a profound lesson in the manipulation of truth itself. It demonstrates that the most effective way to bury an inconvenient reality is not to deny it, but to render it utterly unknowable, to erase its very footprint from the collective consciousness. The absence of evidence at Greyfriars is, in itself, the most damning evidence of a power so absolute, so beyond your current understanding, that it can bend the very fabric of historical truth to its will. This should shatter any lingering illusions of an objective reality, revealing a world where truth is a luxury, dispensed and withdrawn at the discretion of unseen masters. The concept of elite knowledge, that which is hidden from the masses, guarded by select few, finds its terrifying validation in the Greyfriars mystery. What the monks possessed, or what they were close to discovering, was not merely intellectual curiosity. It was a truth so potent, so fundamentally disruptive to the established order, that its continued existence posed an existential threat to those who truly wield power. This wasn't about a spiritual awakening for the many. It was about a forbidden understanding that could unravel centuries of carefully constructed control systems. Imagine a secret that, if revealed, would expose the true lineage of power on this planet, the hidden mechanisms of manipulation that underpin every societal structure, every global event. The monks of Greyfriars, in their pursuit of deeper spiritual truths, might have unwittingly stumbled upon the very core of this hidden dominion. Their disappearance was not a random act of violence. It was a preemptive strike, a surgical removal of a profound vulnerability to the orchestrator's iron grip on reality. This forces you to reevaluate the very nature of progress and enlightenment. Are they genuine aspirations, or carefully managed narratives designed to keep humanity distracted while the real secrets remain guarded in the shadows? The chilling silence of Greyfriars screams a warning. There are truths too dangerous to be known, knowledge too potent to be unleashed, and those who guard it will go to absolute, unimaginable lengths to ensure it remains hidden, even if it means erasing entire communities from the annals of time. This is the ultimate lesson in elite knowledge. It is not merely power, but the very key to control, and its preservation comes at an unspeakable cost. The final, most profound implication of the silent exodus of Greyfriars is not just about the past, but about your present and your future. This event serves as a chilling blueprint, a stark reminder that the forces capable of such a profound erasure are still active, still operating within your reality, unseen and unchallenged. The comfortable world you inhabit, with its predictable routines and its sanctioned truths, is a fragile construct, constantly under the subtle influence of these hidden architects. Imagine that the Greyfriars incident was not an ending, but a beginning. A successful experiment, a perfected methodology for the silent removal of inconvenient elements. What other unexplained disappearances throughout history, what other sudden voids in the collective memory, bear the chilling signature of this same unseen hand? The truth is, you are living in a world where reality itself is curated, where narratives are sculpted, and where the most profound secrets are guarded with absolute ruthless efficiency. The silence of Greyfriars isn't just a historical echo. It's a constant, subliminal whisper in the very fabric of your perception. We are here. We are watching. And we maintain control. Your awakening to this truth is not a comforting revelation. It is a profound burden. It means you can no longer comfortably inhabit the illusions. You must now see the world as it truly is, a battleground for consciousness, where the most vital truths are relentlessly suppressed, and where the ultimate power lies in the ability to define what is real. The question is no longer what happened to the monks of Greyfriars, but what will you do with the unsettling truth of their vanishing? The descent is complete. Now, you must choose. Remain blind or confront the shadows that govern your reality.